Welcome back to another episode of the Downsizing Roadmap podcast with your hosts, Jody Roscoe and Heather Fisher. We're talking about all things downsizing, from our own experiences with clients to guest experts. Let's make downsizing easier, one conversation at a time.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to another episode of the Downsizing Roadmap podcast. I'm Heather Fisher.
And I'm Jody Roscoe.
And we're excited today. We've got a guest with us. We're going to be talking a little bit about navigating senior living, understanding maybe the different options out there and how to choose, what questions you should ask, and maybe when to know when you're ready for different levels. So we're excited. We have Amy Ham with Bethany Village with us today. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think this is a topic we get so many questions about, and I think it just can be really overwhelming. There's just a lot of choices, and I don't think people really know a lot about it until they start to dig into it a little bit.
Sure.
And I think that that's what we always say. Just start looking and start finding, going to places and kind of talking to them and start seeing what's out there. Because I think sometimes people think, well, I'm not ready for that.
Sure.
But
absolutely.
honestly, get ready to be ready is kind of what what our thought processes are. So, yeah.
I think a great place to start is with friends and family. What were their experiences? Where are their loved ones? Are they happy? Are they satisfied? Word of mouth is probably the best way to start. And then oftentimes, as you sort of narrow down what you think you're looking for, ask your physician. You can call places and set up appointments, talk through. Not all senior living, I guess, is exactly the same. There are lots of differences. Some people have some places have multiple levels of care. Some have maybe only independent living and assisted living. So you just sort of have to think through, what it is that you think you ultimately want. Hopefully you have some advisors or advocates, maybe your family, that could come with you and make the visits and help you ask questions, and everybody hears the same thing that way.
Well, and I think once you get started, you'll find the places that you feel comfortable after you kind of go around. Just like when you go looking for houses, right? You have to go kind of look around at the houses, and then you're like, oh no, I think I need a ranch, or oh no, I think I need, whatever, you'll find. But if you haven't even started, you just don't even know what you're looking for yet.
Well, I tell people I think there's a gut feeling too, where you're there and you're having a visit and the answers all sound, just like what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And I'll be comfortable here. This is something I'm going to pursue a little bit more. So sometimes it's just your gut too.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you, Amy. Tell us a little bit about your background and where you're working now, and tell us a little bit about you.
I have worked at Bethany Village for 25 years.
Oh, gosh.
So I almost don't remember anything else. Grew up in North Dayton. I attended Miami University, and Miami has a Scripps Gerontology Center. So I had a minor in gerontology, and graduated and just looked for jobs where you could work with older people, and sort of fell into a marketing and sales role. Pretty much is what I've done, really, since I graduated. I enjoy it a lot. I enjoyed the age group a lot. It's very rewarding to, start from ground zero with a family and, work all the way up to maybe actually a move-in day with someone, and just be part of, it's a happy, and it's also a difficult, and it's important transition in their lives. So it's fun to be part of it.
It's a big change.
It is a big change.
It is a big change, but I think with our clients, they've always been so happy once they've done it. Getting through it is hard. Mm-hmm. I think that's the hard part. Getting from where you are to where you need to be is the hard part.
I agree with that. I have a lot of people who, right before they move in, they ask me all of the ways to get out of it. How can what happens, if I don't like this? What's my out? And then almost all of them then will come in and say, oh, we should have done this 5 or 10 years ago. I don't know why we didn't.
Yeah. So. What brought you to that major in the first? Miami University is a beautiful university, first of all, but what brought you there? Like, you were young, and what made you feel like you wanted to do that?
I thought I wanted to be a theater major, and my dad said, "Oh, please, find something where you
How about
could
that
be
for a hobby?
find something where you could be employed." So, and it was his suggestion that I had my own business, house sitting for older people. Sometimes they were there, sometimes they weren't. He said, "That's a population you really get along with. Why don't you sort of look into what the careers are there?" So
Yeah.
that was it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad you find it rewarding. We also find it extremely rewarding. I think it's a time.
Yeah.
It's a time in people's lives when they feel overwhelmed and need some direction, and it feels really great
Right.
to be able to be like, "Hey, I have some answers for
Sure.
you." I really do love
Yeah,
that.
and just patience and that heart for caring for people.
Right.
You need alongside just the information, and that's what make people feel that calmness, and this is the right
Yeah.
place when they encounter people that are truly caring about them.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
a lot of patience. This is an age group. Seniors are, ladies and gentlemen, and they're grateful for everything you do, and they're kind, and, there are a lot of personal rewards for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally agree.
So when we're talking about senior living, that's such a broad category. So maybe we can talk about just some different levels that are available. Where you are at Bethany, the continuum of care type facility, and then maybe we can just break down what a few of those levels look like in general. I know going through personally. Looking for a place for my dad in the last year to go to. Sometimes it sounds like a foreign language when people are asking all of these questions and talking about what is needed and trying to figure out what we were even looking for and what level of care. It's confusing when you're not in it every day. So maybe let's start with what is continuing care.
Sure. Typically, continuing care is a service, but also typically offered in a campus. Bethany has 100 acres. There are other communities in Dayton that have 100 or 200 acres, so they'll have multiple levels of care on one site. How you determine what level of care or what's the best place for you on that particular site could happen a lot of different ways. Maybe a physician has made a recommendation, maybe a social worker at the hospital made a recommendation, maybe your family says, "Hey, let's talk about something and check some things out." So usually you'll find independent living, assisted living, memory care, some form of nursing care, skilled nursing, and then rehab, usually some type of a rehabilitation program. I always tell people there are also senior rentals, which are typically apartments. They may have licensed some of their apartments for assisted living, so you could stay in the apartment even if things changed a little bit. And sometimes they designate some of those for memory care. You just probably I think the best way is just to contact the community and try to understand. A continuing care campus will go, through end of life for someone. That's the intention. Some of the senior apartments that might have assisted living probably don't. But, it's a crystal ball kind of thing. Not everyone necessarily needs full nursing care, in their lifetime.
I think we meet a lot of people that will tell us, "I'm not ready for, senior living. I'm fine at home." But independent living, offers that independence still. Tell us what you think the biggest benefits of moving, maybe from a house situation to independent living, because you're still capable of
Sure.
handling things. Why would people make that choice?
Yeah. I have a lot of people say to me, "Why would I move into independent living when I could just buy a condo?" So what you're doing is you're exercising, you're starting to, what am I trying to say? You're exercising your right to choose. You have control over choices. So you've decided to move into an independent living situation. Typically, there's maintenance that's taken care of for you. Sometimes there's an available meal or meal plan. A lot of times there's emergency services where you might have the services of a nurse. So it's very different from staying at home or, buying a condo. Although independent living should feel very independent.
I think that the social aspect of it is so big.
Sure.
So I really feel like sometimes, yeah, you can live in your house. Even then, sometimes you can even live in the house that you have now. If you're in a 2-story and that's not working, or you have a giant yard, you need to pick something else. You could pick a condo, and that might be the right choice for you. It might be a 2-step process. You're going to pick a condo, and then you're going to move, to some place that has a little bit more help, or a ranch home that's all on one floor or whatever. Or you could stay in your ranch home, but you are all by yourself all day long. And so it's not that you're not capable of it. It's that, because these are not your grandma's nursing homes, people. Like, if you haven't been there in a long time, I am telling you, Heather and I have been to many, many places, and we always are kind of looking at each other like, we could live here. Like, they're going to do my laundry and, give me
And
food.
the social
And
calendars.
it's beautiful,
Yeah.
and then they're going to take me places, and I'm good. And so if you haven't been there in a long time and you have something in your mind that you think it is, you absolutely need to go out and go to some places and see what they're like, because they are beautiful. And
I agree.
go ahead.
I've met with some family members, sons and daughters especially, who feel really guilty checking out senior living. And they'll say, oh, she made me promise I would never bring her here. But then I think you need to look around. Did you promise her not to bring her here?
Right.
To this very beautiful place with the gorgeous staircase and, a beautiful lobby. I think that's probably a parent that has the old style nursing home or senior living in their mind.
Yeah.
Well, we tend to find that everyone just lumps senior living into a nursing home.
Right.
They really don't know the differences, which is, understandable.
And I think that's why they need to start early, because if you're going to move to a place like Bethany, you should do that early so that you can take advantage of the beautiful, 100 acres that you have, or any place that's similar to that, and wherever you are, go take a look at those things. And they have, don't they have like class? You have class. You have all kinds of things.
Fitness center.
Yeah. To take advantage
clubs,
of. Yeah.
Dinners out. We have a group that goes to the Schuster Center. Groups that go to Wright State Plays. I think any place that you check out, depending on how social you are, some people aren't very social, and that's their choice. But if you are, really check out the calendar if you want to stay active and busy.
Well, and I think you get to pick how social you want to be.
I
You don't
agree.
have to do all of those things, but
I
it's nice
agree.
to have people around you and be
People
able
to
to have a meal.
Check on you and know you're there.
Yeah,
And
worry about you.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It can be
Right.
the quiet social, but
Sure.
I think we found that in COVID, how bad it was to be so isolated. That was really rough.
I think a lot more information about isolation and loneliness in seniors came out after COVID, and it's just sort of something we haven't looked at very much. But met with a lady the other day, and she said, I didn't even realize how quiet my nights were or how lonely I was until I moved.
Yeah.
And there were things going on and people to visit with and someone to have coffee with. And, it was a positive change for her, but yeah.
So when we talk, when we do our downsizing class and we talk about the 5 steps that we have of moving, for the first step is mindset and really thinking about what your future could look like. And I think a lot of people skip that step and don't think about, hey, what could that look like and what could that be? And I think if you go to some of these places and you see how beautiful they are and you see, what kind of life they have, I
Sure.
think that's the other thing. They're like, that's for old people, and I don't want to go there because I'll be really old there. And right? I mean,
Yeah.
I hear that a lot.
That's true.
And so, but they don't. They're vibrant and they have life, and it feels good. And I think that they need to go. You need to go and see and check that out and see what that feels like.
See how it feels.
And if you're the adult kids, you need to see that too, because you're not like dropping your mom and dad or dad off at the nursing home.
Right.
It is. I'm telling you, Heather and I could move in sometime.
Yes.
I feel like I
We
could.
need to go get on that waiting list.
You bet.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the difference if independent living, if there's some signs of, just some things being a little harder. What's the difference between that and looking at assisted living, and what considerations, might make someone choose assisted living versus a
Sure.
fully independent?
A big driver to assisted living, honestly, is memory. Either you realize maybe you're not as sharp as you've been, or maybe a family member or a friend or a neighbor has noticed. And then assisted living is going to provide all of your meals, typically housekeeping, usually a 24-hour nurse to assist with medications. It's sort of it's the beginning of the healthcare part of any continuum. Oftentimes, assisted living people are still able to manage the lion's share of their day, but it's necessary or helpful to have someone knock on the door a few times a day. How you doing? You want to come with us to do this movie night? Do you want to come down and eat with us? Just a little bit of support, I guess. And in Ohio, assisted living, the assisted living licensure allows the community to kind of decide if they want to do assisted living light or a little more high acuity assisted living. So that may be a question to ask. How long could I stay in assisted living?
Yeah, yeah. And I think, your physician would be making some recommendations.
Oh, sure.
As to what to look for. And then does the community do some evaluation as people are coming in as to
Typically, there'd be some type of evaluation or an assessment looking at, what your whole day looks like, including how do you do, personal hygiene, how are you taking your medications. Some people with a reminder can take medications all right. Some people actually need the nurse to show up and dispense medications. So all that's considered in the evaluation. There's probably some type of memory questions that are part of that as well.
How do you handle when you have a couple and one of them needs that more care than another?
That's a tough one. Sometimes we're able to make independent living work for that couple by utilizing home care in the house or the apartment or whatever they've chosen. And sometimes that doesn't work. So hopefully in any continuum that you'd be looking at, there would be a way to keep you close, keep couples close. But that's a difficult time. And a lot of I think that's probably the hardest thing that our social workers have to face is that conversation and, trying to find whatever the positives are.
Yeah. Well,
Which,
I think the positive in this is that you can still be close. Very,
Absolutely.
very close.
Sure.
Take your
And
meals together.
For some
possibly.
couples, it's been a lot of years and the separation is not dire. But for other couples, they've got married at 19 and that's all they've known is being together. So it's something that we take seriously and really work with the families to try to make sure we have a good outcome.
Yeah.
But that's a tough time.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
For sure. What, with memory care, I know you said for assisted living that memory was one of the first signs of maybe needing some assisted living. What's the difference between saying we need a memory care facility versus just assisted living?
Sure. Usually you have the person has a diagnosis of some type of dementia, Alzheimer's, memory loss of some kind. It's usually a primary diagnosis, which that's what would lead us to probably recommend a specific memory area. And there's also an evaluation with that, so it'd be whatever came out of the evaluation.
And a memory care unit is typically very similar to assisted living, and then just the security of not being able to roam or.
Yeah, tell us how memory care is different than.
Well, typically it's secure because of the idea of wandering, but should then have specialized programming that allows, if I can't take a walk outside, then I'm feeling like I want to be really busy. What is there to do? Especially trained staff. Typically, a lot of reminders and calendars and reminders within the room. Actually, here's today's schedule. Here's when lunch is, or whatever the schedule might be. But I think you should look for and expect there's some specialized programming and training for the staff. You can have an area that's memory care that's licensed as assisted living. You could have one that might be licensed as a nursing home. They probably will differ in the type of person that lives there. So maybe check that out if there's an option of having one or the other.
Okay, so like what questions, if I'm looking at a place that has independent care, assisted care, memory care, what questions should I be asking when I first come in to take a look at the property? Or what should I be asking?
Well, I think everybody's interested in how it's licensed. And also, fortunately or unfortunately, there's a wide range of costs in senior living. So that's probably one of the first questions everyone asks me, obviously, what are your rates like?
Yeah, what's
So
financially.
kind of look at that, look at what's included in the rates. That's very, very different as well. And I'd say you probably would want to meet with some type of representative, and I'd say that first meeting might take an hour, and ask the most specific questions you can so you're getting a really good feel. You can also go to, if you're looking at nursing homes and assisted living, you can go to Medicare.gov, and they have a 5-star system for, I said assisted living, nursing homes and rehab, that's what I meant. And they'll rate based on 1 to 5 stars. And Medicare is a federal program, so it's available in all states to look at and kind of compare in your area what the ratings are. They're essentially from the inspections, or what we call surveys, that the communities have had.
So we haven't really talked about nursing care or rehab yet. So nursing care, there are some things that take you from assisted living to nursing care, right? Specific metrics of being able to get up and take care of yourself at all.
Yeah, you probably in a nursing home setting, you're going to find that people are not getting up on their own.
Yeah.
And if they do, they probably need a 1 or 2 people to assist them.
Yeah.
They're likely needing help with bathing, dressing, maybe even a little bit of help in order to eat, to have their meals. So it's a pretty high level of care. We need specific doctor's orders for medications, and it's nursing homes are one of the most highly regulated industries. So there are lots of rules that we have to follow when we get to that level of care.
Yeah. So, and then rehab is just short term, yeah?
Short term, typically, we're seeing maybe 2 to 3 weeks in rehab for most people. The truth is, it's probably whatever your insurance will pay for.
Which I hate.
Well, that would be a different podcast. But I'd like to be there.
Yes, wouldn't we all?
It is what it is. The insurance, we do what the insurance companies tell us.
Right.
So, but yes, that typically is paid for by insurance. I probably wouldn't agree to go to a rehab unit unless my insurance was paying. It's very expensive level of care.
And the goal is usually someone is living not in a community, something happens at home, it's a hospital stay, and then they're not quite ready for home, but the goal is that they will get that rehab and get back to home, correct?
Right.
And
usually those admissions come from a hospital, almost always, and have very specific orders for your insurance is paying for that stay because you have therapy orders typically. So very specific as to what the therapist should be doing. And then whenever you've reached the goals that have been set, yes, the idea is for you to go home.
Yeah.
So we found that through personal experience,
Yes.
that what happens is if something happens and you end up in the hospital, and then the hospital decides they've done all that they can do for you, and it's time for you to go to rehab, it will be something like this. Hey, you're doing great, and it's time for you to go to rehab, and we're going to have you out of here in like an hour, and here is your list of places that you can go to. Which one would you like to pick? And so
Has some truth to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're advocating, go look at those places ahead of time. Go find out where
Before
you
you
want
need
to.
them.
Yeah, before you need them. We hope you never need them. But again, it's one of those things that that's panic inducing when you feel
Sure.
like, I don't know where I'm going to go. I don't know anything about these places.
Right.
And
Well, and it can be both situations. The personal experience is with my own family and my dad, and we had the situation you're referring to a few years ago where, they said, which rehab would you like to go to? And then we've had this year where it was, figure out where he's going to be, long term. But that decision had to be made within, hours, a day and a half. So we're huge proponents of, you don't need to feel like you're completely ready to move somewhere now, but go tour, go talk to Amy, go talk to communities around you, and just know in your head, here's a great path for me if this happens, if that happens, and do that research, because it's so stressful and impossible to do in the short time frame that you need, impossible to do well in the short time frame that you need if something happens. And
when that happens, it's falling to your kids to do it. You aren't making the choices yourself. You're coming from a place of
Right.
trauma or a critical place
Right.
where you're not sometimes able to make those decisions yourself. Your kids feel totally like a fish out of water because they don't want to put you in a place that you aren't going to like, and they feel very, it's hard. It's hard to be the adult kid in that situation and feel like I'm picking something, for my
sure.
parents.
It's a huge burden. And it's so much nicer for the adult children if, parents have looked around a little bit.
Yep.
Typically, you can make an appointment and see any place that you want to see. And I think it's great when people start early, start ahead. If you're 60 and you want to come and look because you're just thinking about
Yeah.
it, that's fine. We're not going to turn anyone away. I think people who are really good planners probably have the easiest road when it comes to that sort of thing. It's really hard to help somebody who's kind of operating in crisis mode.
Yeah.
And, my heart goes out to them, but it's
something you can prevent. And
It
so we
is.
want to
Yeah.
just encourage
It is.
everybody to do those so that you're not in that stressful situation.
sometimes places will have open houses or,
Yeah.
a special speaker where you could go in and you can hear the speaker, but also look around a little bit and ask some questions. That might be a more casual way to do it. But just sort of know what your top
Sometimes
list
you get
is.
lunch. I mean,
Sometimes you get
go
lunch.
have lunch.
Delicious lunches.
Go have lunch and
Yeah.
just go look at around places. And some places like Bethany have waiting lists. And so you might think, oh, I'm just going to go to Bethany. My, friend, whoever was there, and I'll just do that. But you can't just necessarily just do that. You
Not
need
always.
to, yeah.
Yeah.
Not everywhere has that, but just know that you need to go and, have a conversation and know what all the pieces are.
Investigate the options and investigate the financial pieces and find that right fit early, and then make the move when you're ready.
Yeah.
It might not be a case of a long waiting list. It may just be that you're very specific. I need a 2-bedroom
Right.
with a south-facing window for my plants. I don't even know if south is good for plants, but something very specific, and that might contribute
Pets.
to the wait. Pets depends on where you're looking, but usually I think more and more places are pet friendly.
Okay.
There's so much research about how good our pets are for
Yeah.
us. So
Yeah.
yeah, you'll see a lot of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So our goal for you guys is to just get started and do some research and kind of figure out those things, because
Gather information.
you don't want to be stuck, and nobody wants to make decisions out of crisis mode, like nobody. And it really will fall to your family to help you make it. And that's overwhelming to them. I'm telling you from
Personal experience.
Heather and I are telling you, don't do it.
Yes. Yes. We see the things that we wish would have been easier for each of us.
Yeah, and we know now how they could have been, and it makes me crazy that it wasn't. And you know, you don't want to feel like that. So, so sometimes will you get people that come to rehab and then just can't go home?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
We do our best to accommodate them. I think any rehab facility would. Sometimes we have space, sometimes we don't.
Yeah.
And that probably is true of anywhere.
Yeah. Is there any advice, your biggest piece of advice that you would give to families as they're starting to think about this?
I just think overall, as a family, as a whole family, start early. Start very early. Parents probably have to recognize, and kids have to be brave enough to say they don't want your stuff.
Yeah,
They
we have
don't.
lots. Listen, y'all, there are plenty of episodes that you can listen to, and there will be more coming up about what to do with your
Yes.
stuff and how your kids will want some things, but not all the things, and they can't take them all.
Sure.
Yeah.
I have a lot of experience seeing that as well. There's just, a lot of people count on the things that they find that they find to be a treasure, that their kids will feel the same way, and they just don't. Sometimes they do, but not always.
Well, it's all just stuff unless there's stories around it. And so it's really about the stories.
Sure.
And some stuff has your own story as the senior, your own stories that don't really resonate with your kids as much. Some of them have stories that resonate with both of you. And some of the stuff has your kids have stories around that stuff that you don't even know what those stories are. And so just let them decide, and then don't be upset about what they take. And it may not be the most expensive thing that they're taking. It may just be the thing that reminds them of their childhood with you, or something about the essence of you, which is really what they want.
Sure.
Versus your most expensive this that they don't like because it doesn't fit in their decor, and
And I think people who believe certain things have value, those things may or may not have value. Your large collections or the National Geographics that have stacked up in the basement may or may not have value. And maybe while you're checking out everything else, figure out some of those things too. But I think make your visits, start early while everything is going well. That's the best time to start.
And I think when everything's going well, people are like, I don't need that. And it's not about needing it right now. Like, I think that we can't say that enough times. Like, it's just about getting ready to what could that next step look like, right? And because when you need it is definitely not when you want to be looking at it.
Starting at square one, yeah.
So, you just want to be.
Well, and maybe friends and family could offer supportive statements. I have a lot of people tell me, my kids don't want me to come. My kids, they say, what are you doing that for? Maybe maybe we should change that conversation into something a lot more positive and encouraging, because it really will benefit friends and family if you kind of have a plan.
I think if there are adult kids out here listening, my advice would be make sure you go on those tours, and hopefully your parents invite you to go as well, but go on those tours and see for yourself, and honor if your parents are saying, we're ready to consider this. Definitely don't fight that, because waiting too long is not the right choice, and
And it'll be hard on you later, even if you don't know it.
yeah, be supportive of that and do that. And if it's the other way around, have a little grace and patience in those conversations. If you're the one thinking your parents need something different and they're struggling to make that decision, offer to go to lunch with them at one of the lunch and learns that someone offers, or take a tour, or do that and then take them out to lunch and make it enjoyable and not a stressful family argument.
Yeah, I think we've seen it both ways. We've seen it where the kids are like, Mom, you need to go. Like, you need to go here. And their mom's like, ooh. And anyone doesn't want to be told what to do. So if it's just like, hey, this place is having a lunch, let's go take a look at it.
Right.
That's a little less, than Mom, I'm going to, we're moving you in
Drag
there
you.
next week. But we have also definitely seen the adult kids that are like, Mom, you can't do that. You can't sell our house. Like, we grew up in that house. And, they're pushing back in the
Exactly.
other way.
Yeah.
But it's not them living every day in a house that isn't working for them anymore. And they're just feeling, that fear of change and that, not wanting to address the fact of what might, be coming down
parents
the
are
line.
getting older.
Yeah. But that's unfair. It's unfair both ways. It's unfair when the parents won't do what they need to do for the kids, and it's unfair when the kids won't let the parents do the things that they need to do. So
Yeah.
everybody just has to
Be supportive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Be
think
supportive.
change, be supportive, and change is hard to accept sometimes, but if we embrace it, it makes it so much easier. It's when we push against it that it causes us pain.
And
Sure.
when you go through change with informed decisions that you chose,
Yep.
change is a lot easier.
Yeah. And exciting even.
Yeah.
That's why we talk about that mindset in the beginning is what could that look like? I mean, I'm at this campus and I am having coffee with whoever and we're all going to the theater together and, sometimes I can hang out by myself and that's okay. Like there's just so many options and it could be so fun and it gives you all the time to travel and the time to go spend more time with your family or whatever that
Right.
is and you're not, mowing the lawn and dusting stuff that you don't
Very-
use anymore.
Very definitely. Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So think about what that could look like and start there and then get excited about it. And I'm telling you, these places are beautiful. They're beautiful places.
Yeah, you have to look around a little bit. And particularly in our South Dayton area, there's some really beautiful places. Probably in most cities.
Yeah.
Senior age group is increasing in numbers, and there are a lot of big, beautiful, newly built places to look at.
Well, and I think that seniors are very vibrant, and want to be vibrant, and seniors living is vibrant, and so again, it's not what it used to be.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yep.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate your insight today, Amy. I know
Absolutely.
that this will help a lot of people that are just starting to navigate, knowing whether this is the right thing to consider. And as we always want people to do, start thinking about it early. And we appreciate having you here today, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
of course.
Thanks for listening, everybody. If you have questions, let us know, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for joining us on the Downsizing Roadmap podcast. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might need a little downsizing inspiration. Have questions or ideas for future episodes? Reach out to us on our website, www.downsizingroadmap.com. Until next time, let's keep simplifying and moving forward.